Good morning. How are we doing this morning? All right. I'm going to invite you to stand up, and we're going to sing Goodness of God. I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. And all my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up, the moment that I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You've led me through the fire, darkest night. You were close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. And I have lived in the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. With my life laid down, surrender now, give you everything. Your goodness is running after me. All my life you have been faithful. But all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. One more time. But all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. Slow down, take time, breathe in. He said he'd reveal what's to come. The thoughts in his mind, always higher than mine. He'll reveal all to come. So take courage He's in the waiting. And hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. Sing praise, my soul. Find strength in joy. Let his words lead you on. Do not forget his great faithfulness. He'll finish all he's begun. So take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. And take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. And hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. To him who called the stars, who call them out by name, will surely keep the promise to me that I will rise in victory. To him who called the stars, call them out by name, will surely keep his promise to me, then I'll rise in victory. Take courage, my heart, and stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. Hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. So take courage, my heart, and stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting. He's in the waiting. And hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing. He's never failing. He's in the waiting. 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 All right. It's time for the children and kids to be dismissed. There should be someone at that door with a flag to accompany, and then we'll continue here. This one's one of my favorite songs to play, called Holy Water. God, I'm on my knees again. God, I'm begging, please again. I need you. Oh, I need you. Walking down these desert roads, water for my thirsty soul. I need you. Oh, I need you. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of a symphony to my ears. dead man walking, slave to sin. I want to know about being born again. I need you. Oh God, I need you. So take me to that riverside. Take me under and baptize. I need you. Oh God, I need you. 'Cause your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of a symphony in my ears. It's like holy water on my skin. 'Cause I don't want to abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. 'Cause I don't want to abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. 'Cause I don't want to abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of a symphony in my ears. It's like holy water. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. It's like the sound of a symphony in my ears. It's like holy water on my skin. It's like holy water on my skin. It's like holy water. All right, you may be seated.
Good morning. I want to welcome those of you who are here in Dodgeville. I want to welcome our Richland Center family. And if you're watching online, thanks for being a part of this, taking time out of your week to join us. We really appreciate it. It's a privilege. No matter how you're with us, just the fact that you are with us. If you're here in Dodgeville, I do want to alert you, if you take your program in the announcements section, you'll see an update on our giving, and I want to thank those of you who are faithful givers, who sacrificial givers, who helped us kind of cut into our deficit a little bit more. And I want to encourage you, if you consider Hidden Valley your home, to prayerfully consider what you ought to do and how you serve. And, you know, with fall starting now, although it's fall this week and next weekend it's going to be like summer again, but things are starting to roll and things are starting to happen, and some of the new things are starting up again, and we can do those things because you give faithfully, and God connects those dots, and He knows what you're doing, even if you don't know exactly what you're doing. But thanks for giving, being a part of that. So in 1963, there was a rather controversial figure. He was controversial for a couple of reasons. Because of the words he said, but also because of his religion and the fact that he was more than willing to kind of share his beliefs, and not everybody agreed with this guy. He wrote a poem about himself. Some of you may be familiar. His name at that time was Cassius Clay. And you may not know that name, but most of us, if not all of us, know the name Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was a boxer, and he was voted, as we switch centuries, he was voted the most recognized sports figure in all of the 20th century. That's not who he was in 1963. He was still trying to find that way to let people know who he was, where he was going, So he wrote a poem about himself. It's a very humble poem. It was called I Am the Greatest. And I'm not going to read the whole poem. I'm going to read a few of the lines that Cassius Clay, who would soon become Muhammad Ali, wrote about himself. This is the legend of Cassius Clay, the most beautiful fighter in the world today. He talks a great deal and brags indeedy of a muscular punch that's incredibly speedy. This brash young boxer is something to see, and the heavyweight champion is his destiny. This kid fights great. He's got speed and endurance, but if you sign to fight him, increase your insurance. This kid's got a left, this kid's got a right. If he hit you once, you're asleep for the night. For I am the man this poem's about, the next champ of the world, there isn't a doubt. When I say two, there's never a third. Standing against me is completely absurd. When Cassius says a mouse can outrun a horse, don't ask how. Put your money where your mouse is. I am the greatest. So 2,000 years, give or take a few years, before Muhammad Ali said those words, there was another individual. He's a bit controversial. He was controversial for the words he said. He was controversial for his take on religion, and not everybody agreed with him. He didn't say, I am the greatest, but it turns out he was the greatest. And he didn't write a poem, but he did say something that to kind of introduce himself to the world, and this was kind of early on in his public ministry. It wasn't a poem, but there's some poetic elements, to what he says when he kind of entered the world stage. But it's different than what Muhammad Ali said. You'll notice the focus isn't all on me. Because when this individual, his name was Jesus, when he kind of walked onto the world stage, this is what he said. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you, falsely on my account. So last week, if you weren't with us, we started a series of messages called Almost True. I mean, if you think about it, there's these little sayings that we say to ourselves, and maybe mom and dad taught us, or we found them on social media, or we heard our favorite personality or whatever say this, and we was like, yeah, that sounds good. It sounds true. I want it to be true. But a lot of those things that we tell ourselves, if we just pause for a moment, they're almost true. And you know what almost true is? It's fully false. They sound good. And you know, it's interesting. I told you this last week that I asked, over the past several months, I'd been asking staff and my family just to kind of like send those to me when you hear them. And I wish some of them were true. I really do. I wish I could just say like, a nice cute 5 or 6 word phrase and it answers our problems. Makes me feel better about who I am, makes you feel better about you. But a lot of those things, they're almost true. And I kind of wish the things that Muhammad Ali said, I am the greatest. I wish that were true. There's a part of me that when we listen to Jesus, when he said, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are the meek, blessed are those who suffer, I kind of wish that wasn't true. So we're going to look at a kind of a group of sayings, and they don't all mean exactly the same thing, but they're kind of in the same ballpark, that we say that they're almost true, and we wish they were true, but they're not. First, you ever said this one? I've heard this a lot. Might makes right. I mean, look around. Who decides what's right? The mighty. Who decides what's in and who decides what's out? The popular. You've heard this one. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Speak up, complain, and you're the one who gets things your way. Don't keep your mouth shut. Complain a little bit, and it's going to go your way. And we get this one from Charles Darwin, survival of the fittest. So if you're not surviving, if you're not thriving, if life's not going, you're the problem. Because this world, let's be honest, who wins? People who have an EST at the end of their description. The best, the greatest, the fastest, the smartest. It's interesting. I mean, if you took Ali's poem and you kind of like fused it with what Jesus said, blessed are, you know what Ali really said? He said things like this: blessed are the winners. Blessed are the strongest. Blessed are the self-promoters. Blessed are the ones who have that gift of, they got it. And then Jesus says something like this: blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And that's not our experience with the word meek, is it? I mean, think about meek. You know what happens to someone who's meek in our world, right? Meek is the person who gets chosen last in gym class. Meek never wins the spelling bee. Meek is never the prom queen. Meek never gets the job. The meek person, we don't notice when they are there, and we don't notice when they're not there. That's kind of what we think about this word meek, right? But Jesus, he says words that they don't make sense to us. In fact, we almost want to say the words that Jesus said, those are the words that are almost true. But he said this, he said, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. So we're going to answer 3 questions about this idea of meek today. and see if what Jesus said is true. Because, I don't know about you, but if I have to choose between Muhammad Ali and Jesus, I'm going to go with Jesus. If I have to choose between what I see sometimes in this world and the words of Jesus, I'm going to go with the words of Jesus. But here's the context, because it's kind of important, that context when Jesus said those words. Jesus, he went up on a mountain to tell people about God's expectations. It's a lot like what had happened several thousand years before Jesus. There was a man named Moses, and he went up on a mountain to get the expectations that God had for his people. And most of us have heard of the Ten Commandments, and he came down from the mountain with these 10 Commandments, and that's early on in the Bible. And quite honestly, the Bible from about here to all the way here, actually more like this part of the Bible is about the people who got those expectations but came up short. There's a whole lot in this book about that man Moses going up on the hill, going up on that mountain, getting what God expected, and then people not being able to do it. And so Jesus, he goes up on a mountain just like Moses did. And he says, I'm going to tell you what God expects of you. And here's what some of us hope, or at least maybe it's just me who hopes this. I'm hoping that Jesus will say something like this. You guys tried, but you came up short. So I'm going to make it easier for you. I got together with my Father and the Holy Spirit, and the three of us talked, and we decided to lower the bar. Because no one seems to be, you're not doing it. And it's, so Jesus is going to lower the bar for us. Actually, he does the opposite. What Moses came down is much easier to do than what Jesus said. I mean, we could go all through these examples, but just let me give you one example. When Moses came down, one of the laws was, do not commit adultery. You know what Jesus said? Don't think lustfully. Yeah, that's a little harder to keep. So when we listen to Jesus, and you say to yourself, well, wow, that seems hard. You know why it seems hard? Because it is hard. So when Jesus says something like, blessed are the meek, because they will inherit the earth, and you say to yourself, it doesn't look that way to me. You know why that is? Because it doesn't look that way to you. But it doesn't make it any less true. So what is Jesus after? So here's the question that we got to ask first. What is meekness? Does it really mean shy and timid? Just be the wallflower. Be the person that, people don't notice when you make it there, and people don't notice when you're gone. Be the person that people look at you and I know we've met, but I don't remember your name. And you've known them for 10 years. What is meekness? Think about a person that you would describe as meek. Probably a little timid. Definitely an introvert. A little shy. Even when they do talk, you kind of have to lean in and listen really close because they're meek. They don't win. Don't know much about them because they don't talk about themselves. There is a word that we use, and it rhymes with meekness, and it's weakness. That's kind of what we think. We wouldn't say that to them because it would hurt their feelings, but we think that, right? So here's something really important. Meekness is not weakness. When Jesus said these words, nobody thought meek Oh, he's talking about weak. When Jesus said this word, it had an entirely different meaning. Because this particular word that Jesus chose, it was used commonly to talk about farm animals. Specifically, animals that, you would hitch up and they would plow, and they were powerful animals, and they'd plow a straight line for you. Because they were tame, but they were strong. You'd get a full day's work out of them, and they'd get the job done. They weren't weak. They were under control. It was a word that sailors would use when they had the optimal breeze. They would call it, there's a meek breeze today, which meant it was powerful enough to move the ship and you could manipulate the sails to go where you want, but it wasn't so strong that the breeze took you wherever it wanted to. It was power, but it was under control. And doctors used this word. They talked about meek medicine. You know what meek medicine is? It's medicine that works. It treats your ailment, but you don't have like a side effect of hairy knuckles or something. It worked. It did what it was supposed to do, but it didn't have side effects. So this is what Jesus' audience heard when they heard that the meek will inherit the earth. It's not that you be weak, that you're timid and you never speak up, that you never share your opinion. It means that meekness is the power, your power, for the benefit of others. And by the way, that word blessed is kind of important too. Blessed are the meek. And a lot of us think to ourselves, yeah, blessed. The only time I hear that word is an hour on a Sunday morning. It's a religious term. It's a spiritual term. It has nothing to do with my life the rest of the week. What does it mean that the blessed are the meek? Well, that word blessed, it really means kind of fortunate, privileged, happy, joyful. It's the kind of life that we think might makes right. It's the kind of life that you wake up in the morning and you are really glad you are where you are and you have what you have to do that day. You're glad that you have the responsibilities, whether it's being a parent, a brother, a sister, a son, a daughter, or whatever, the job you have. You look forward to what you have that day. It's not always easy, but you're really glad that's where you're at in life. That's what the meek get. It's not poems. It's not self-promotion. It's who you are for the benefit of other people. Meek people are not just people who work in the nursery, although if you work in the nursery, that's being meek. You know what other things meek people do? They stand at the door and they give a firm handshake to people. Because some people don't get a firm handshake the rest of the week. Meek people also show up on the third Tuesdays at our campus in Dodgeville, and they lift heavy boxes of food and put it in the car for people. That's what meek people do. It's you using your powers, whatever they are, for the benefit of other people. You can talk a lot and still be meek. You don't have to say a word, and you can be meek. You can be opinionated and be meek. You can be the life of the party and be meek, or you can be the wallflower and you can be meek. It's who you are for other people. It's like being, and I know this doesn't sound flattering, but a really good plowing animal. It's like being a gentle breeze. It's like being good medicine. So why should I be meek? Because, Doesn't seem to work for most people. I look around and see who are meek in this world. And certainly Muhammad Ali would have never got where he was by being meek. Why be meek? So there's a somewhat serious, somewhat funny individual who looked at this verse when Jesus said, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." His name was J. Upton Dickinson, and he decided to start an organization for people who wanted to obey this verse fully, to be meek. And this was the name of his organization, the Dependent Organization of Really Meek and Timid Souls. Doormats. Because that's what we think meek is, right? You're a doormat. You're going to get stepped on. You're going to get overlooked. People are going to walk. No one's going to care about doormats. And this organization that he started, they had a motto that they decided to live by. And the motto went like this: "The meek shall inherit the earth," if that's okay with everybody. What's the benefit of being meek? It's a legitimate question. It's not selfish. What's the benefit? Why, Jesus, would you say, "Blessed are the meek"? Because he said, well, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Here's the deal. Meekness makes right. I thought it was might makes right. Meekness is what makes right. You know who wins in the end? The meek. And you know what happens? Sometimes the mighty, they rise up and we hear them and we know what they're saying, what they're doing, and we see them, and then they're kind of gone. So, seriously, Jesus, has it ever happened in history where the meek win? So after Jesus rose from the dead and was taken to heaven, there was an empire that kind of ruled the known world. It was the Roman Empire. And if there was ever an empire whose motto was might makes right, it was the Roman Empire. And when Jesus left the earth, he had a few followers, and the leaders of this movement were 12 guys who were hiding in a room because they were scared. So you had 12 guys, a few followers, and you had the mighty Roman Empire. And this thing called Christianity, this movement, it started to grow, and the Roman Empire started to get a little nervous. Hey, they're starting to have an influence. And so Christians were persecuted. And, one of the ways they were persecuted, this emperor named Nero, he thought it'd be a good idea to dip Christians in oil. Then he'd put them on his driveway and light them on fire. That was his lamps. But this thing called Christianity kind of kept growing. And so there was another emperor. His name was Justinian. And Justinian, he was just sick and tired because mighty Rome, but Christianity, it's growing. Why is that? And he didn't call them Christians. He called them Galileans because, they followed this guy named Jesus who was from this little place called Galilee. And so Rome versus Galilee. It's not a fair fight. So he wrote a book to send throughout the whole kingdom about why these people who called Christians, called Galileans, why they're despicable people. And the whole book was about why they're really bad people. It was called Against Galileans. But what he did in the middle of his book is he shared a little snippet about why Christianity is growing. And this is what he said in his book. It's been especially advanced through the loving service rendered to strangers and through their care for the burial of the dead. It is a scandal that there is not a single Jew who is a beggar and that the godless Galileans, by the way, they're Christians, care not only for their own poor, but for ours as well. You know, today there's no Roman Empire. There's a really cool city called Rome, but there's no Roman Empire. But there is this thing called Christianity. You know why Christianity grew? Because Jesus' followers were meek. It was their loving service rendered to strangers, their care for the burial of the dead. There's not a single Jew who is a beggar, and they cared not only for their own poor, but for ours as well. Might doesn't make right. Meek makes right. Meek wins. When Jesus said these words, he knew he was quoting from the book of Psalms. In fact, he quotes really from Psalm 37. It says this, "In just a little while, the wicked will be no more. Though you look carefully at his place, he will not be there. But the meek shall inherit the land and delight themselves in abundant peace." Here's what might does. Might rises up and then it falls. Greatness shows up and then somebody else is greater. Pride comes and someone more proud. Handsome shows up and then someday someone will replace that of me. It's amazing how EST always gets replaced, but meek never does. You know, I don't have to stab you in the back. I don't have to jump in front of you in the line. I could just give you a helping hand, because that's what wins. So, real important question then. How can I be meek? In a world where it doesn't seem that meek wins, it's might makes right. It's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. It's the survival of the fittest. How can I be meek? What do I do? Well, there's a lot of things you can do. First of all, you can come back next Sunday because we're actually going to talk about some ways to be meek. It's almost like we planned it. But here's some things to consider starting this afternoon, how I can be meek in a world where meek doesn't seem the way to win, where you just you kind of come up short. First one is this. Be meek, not weak. Be meek, not weak. We don't need false humility. You know what false humility is? I just can't do anything. Don't have any gifts. I don't have any talents. I don't have any. I'm just this humble nobody, and I can't help anybody. Wrong. We're going to find out next week that God was a little miffed at somebody who had that attitude. I can't do anything. I'm not any good. I don't have any gifts. No, be meek. Be you for somebody else. Don't be weak. Be meek, but don't be weak. And then here's another one. Scratch people's back, even if they never scratch yours. Scratch people's back, even if they never scratch yours. And you know the saying that we usually use, right? We kind of turn it around. The normal saying is this: I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine first. And I'm going to wait, and you're going to wait. And neither of us are going to do anything. You know what meekness does? It just serves other people, and it may or may not get something in return. The next one's really important too. Serve without side effects. In other words, I'll help you, but then you better be there when I need you. I'll help you, but I'm also going to tell about 10 other people what a wonderful guy I am. You know, I always laugh at those, and I shouldn't laugh. I know it's horrible. You know those commercials on TV for medicines? You know, you've got dry eyes, and so if you take this medicine, or you got scratchy skin, so you take this medicine. And then in the commercial, everybody who has those dry eyes, they suddenly do a dance routine together. And then it gets to the end of the commercial, and they tell you the side effects. This medication may cause constipation, diarrhea, sleepiness, inability to sleep, heart palpitations, hairy knuckles, bark like a dog, or death. I just want dry eyes then. Don't cause people hairy knuckles. Just be you, use your gifts and talents to serve people, no side effects. No, I'm keeping a record and I've helped you 3 times and you better be there for me. Just serve, no side effects. I mean, look at our world. There are so many people who serve, but they come with some pretty serious side effects. And finally, I am not the greatest, but I can walk with the greatest. I am not the greatest. And by the way, Muhammad Ali, you weren't either. But I can walk with the greatest. That's why meekness wins. It's not because I'm great or you're great or we've got all. It's because of who we walk with. In fact, Jesus, he says I'm meek. Jesus says I'm meek. And during Jesus' day, remember those plowing animals? This word meek was used for animals. When a farmer got a new animal, you know how they would train a young, undisciplined animal how to like plow a straight row and what they had to do? They would yoke him with an experienced bigger oxen. And so the bigger oxen would kind of do the work and walk straight. And while the young one would try to turn or go the wrong way because they weren't strong enough, they were headed in the right direction and they learned what to do. That's how you learned as if you were an animal. Now keep that in your mind and listen to what Jesus says in this next verse. That idea of this, a larger teaching us and walking. Because listen to what Jesus says. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am meek and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. You want to know how you really become meek? You kind of walk with Jesus. And he does the heavy lifting. He does the hard stuff. You'll find out it's not as difficult as you thought, because like that larger ox, he's the one who's actually doing the work, and we're kind of learning along the way. Might makes right. It's almost true. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. That's true. That's what Jesus offers to those of us who are willing to kind of walk with him. And that's the goal of why you show up on a Sunday morning. It's the goal of why you serve in a ministry. It's the goal of why you join a life group, because we're just trying to learn how to walk with Jesus. And for some of us, maybe you've never started that walk. And you started by simply telling you believe Jesus died for you. And as we close in prayer in a couple of moments, you just simply tell them that. That's how the walk starts. For the rest of us, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Let's pray. God, I thank you for Jesus. He was the meekest and the greatest. And those things go hand in hand. God, I thank you that Jesus died in our place. And if there's somebody who's watching or in person who's never done this, that they'd simply say, I believe Jesus died for me. The greatest man was the meekest man. He was not weak, but he died in my place. God, I pray for us. It doesn't sound true that the meek will inherit the earth. But help us to trust you on this one. In Jesus' name, amen. So, in Richland Center and here in Dodgeville, if you noticed in your program this morning, and if you didn't take a program, you can get these on the connections desk out there. But you'll notice that there was an insert about Hidden Valley's very own fantasy football team. And I randomly picked my team. It was random. And I got the New England Patriots, which would have been awesome like 10 years ago. But here's what we're going to do this year. And you can see it on the back. And we're not going to update this every week, but at the end of the year, we'll draw a winner. But if your team plays during the week and they win a game, you get 10 points. If they play the Green Bay Packers and they lose, you get 20 points. And I did that because I'm a really gracious guy. But here's the rule that's not nice at all. If your team plays the Minnesota Vikings and they beat them, they get twice as many points. And that's not very kind. But that's what we're going to do anyway. So if you, like I said, if you didn't get, so what you do is you kind of put your name on there, you tear it off, you go home, and then you know who you're supposed to root for. Put the other one in the offering boxes, and then at the end of the year, we'll find out who wins. So please, and like I said, if you didn't pick up one, go out there. You don't get to like rifle through them and find your favorite team. It's random, so you got to take whatever's on the top. Like the New England Patriots. Our monthly serving focus for September is called 60 Minutes in September. Here's what we're challenging you to do, is serve, whether it's in church or outside of church, serve someone, somewhere, somehow for 60 minutes. And then would you tell us about it? We'd like to put together either some stories or maybe some videos. If you can get someone to like record you on your phone serving, and that would be awesome, and send them to Lori. Her email's up there. You're going to find some ways next week when you come back here to fulfill that 60 minutes. But it's really, as we're starting the fall and everybody's schedule's getting back to normal, what if normal for all of us became at least 60 minutes serving someone around us? In other words, being meek. Because meek wins. Next Sunday, we're going to be doing something a little different. For the past, 3 or 4 years, maybe not that long, every third Sunday of the month, I would go back during the worship songs and hang out with the kids just briefly before I'd come back out here. Next Sunday, we're going to start something different. We're going to have the kids come up here. And so we get to see who they are and see what they do and learn some things based on what they do back there. So what we talk about with them is going to be the very thing that they do back there. So we're going to start that next Sunday. So if you're a parent of one of those kids, your kids are going to come up here. We're going to talk for about a minute, because that's what we called it. And then they're going to go back like every other Sunday. But it's just an opportunity to remind ourselves that God is doing really, really great things, not just in here, but even on the other side of the building. We have life groups starting up, and if you look on here, we've got 3 of them starting. There's one has been going on, and you're more than welcome to join that. There's a couple that are going to start a little later on. Take your information sheet. You can either email the person in charge, you got those up there, or write something, put it in the offering box, and we'll be in contact with you. It's just a great way to do that thing where you kind of walk with Jesus by walking with other people who are walking with Jesus. So we'd encourage you to do that. Fill out your connection card. If you have a prayer request, you have a question, please put that on there. Put those in the offering box. And if you can help us put the chairs away and then put a stack of them against the wall, we'd appreciate it. I'm going to be down front. I'd love to meet you, talk with you. Have a fantastic week.